Good afternoon, everybody. So when the conference organizers came to me and said, we'd like you to speak at the event in New York, I'd like you to pick your topic. Immediately, my mind came to this one about building and sustaining a great relationship with sales. Obviously, as product marketers, we sit in between product on one side and sales on the other. I happen to believe that, I like the whole aspect of it, but I happen to believe that the relationship with sales is just so crucial to get right, or at least to try to. And I also think it's changed tremendously in the last couple of years. Before COVID, most of us were all together, when there was a discussion that needed to happen, or some relationship some fine point that needed to be hashed out. It was visiting each other in offices, or having dinner together, or playing some golf, or what have you. And now, it has to be so much more regimented, because we don't really get that chance to have those offhanded, quick conversations, while we're eating, or what have you. So, all the things that I'm going to talk about today are things that were done before COVID, but now they're much more regimented for me, and I actually find the framework that I have to be really conducive to getting it done right. So just a quick story again about me. I've been doing product marketing for quite some time, but just like a lot of the speakers that we've had beforehand, I too had a very bizarre route to get here. I never, when I was in college and I was a senior, I was never like, I'm going to be a product marketer. That's going to be my job. I started out I wanted to be a political journalist, and I did that for a couple months, and I was like, wow, I hate this. And then I went, and my father said, you should do something that you like. And I said, well, I like to write, but I also like to play with technology and gadgets. And so, amazingly, there was a spot for me too. And I ended up being a journalist in the IT space. Then I was an analyst in the IT space. And then from there, after several years, I moved into product marketing. I was like, wow, I really like this. So that's kind of my journey. And now I'm in a place where I actually love it. It's a really tough job. We all in this room know, how rough and tumble it can be. But I personally think it's the most exciting job in the whole company, because you interact with so many people. You have such a dynamic role, and it's different from job to job. So if it doesn't work out, you go to the next company, and it's completely different. So today I want to talk about three things. One is, building that trust between sales and marketing, so that you can get the job done effectively, and so you can hit your goals, so that sales can hit their goals. Number two is to have fun in the process, and really appreciate what sales is going through. And I think the fun part isn't talked about enough. And it's sad, because it actually can be. And if you relax and kind of dig yourself into it, I find that it really is a lot of fun. And finally, tips on sharing messaging in a way that's going to resonate with not only sales, but product, and with everybody, so that there's a common framework and you can go forward. So 3 years ago, I was at this very conference, and this guy named Jim Walker from Cockroach Labs was the very first speaker, and he defined what, in his words, he thought product marketing was. Very simple, very quick sentence, and I happen to love this a lot. It's really, you're building a narrative, and building and delivering a core narrative that you learn from research, from observation, and then you turn what you learn into a narrative and you deliver it. This is a great way this is actually his, so I use this from his presentation, and it's very bottoms up, building the narrative, understanding the company that you work for, understanding the audience that you're selling to, and understanding the product. And if you can get those three, and I would kind of package industry along with company. If you can get these three buckets in your job, the world can be your oyster, because it feeds so much of what happens on the day-to-day deliverable side. So, for example, externally, building sales decks, helping them, putting together content, case studies, websites, internally working on the roadmap, really getting an understanding of how that's working, win-loss analysis, battle cards. I circled here what I thought the areas that sales most touches. But I would argue that sales is involved in every single one of these. So that's why, to me, it's so crucial to spend a lot of time working to improve the sales relationship. Now, that's not to say that the relationship with product isn't important and with other areas of the business. But I really think that, as you go about the process of delivering all these items, you're really toast if you can't get support from your sales team, because not only for their approval, but just for their knowledge. I mean, a lot of times they know things that we don't from their interactions with the customer, with their interactions with prospects. They bring a lot of information to the table, and it's really crucial to get it right. Now, the problem is that there's a lot of apprehension. There's a lot of debate between who's responsible for what when it comes to sales and marketing, at least that I've seen. And you know all the classic hits, right? I mean, there's no leads to follow up on. Marketing isn't doing anything. I don't understand the collateral they're building. If I can't get it, the customer's never going to get it. How many presentations is marketing going to do on messaging that are so boring? I am going to fall asleep, and that all marketing cares about is leads. That's it. And unfortunately, sometimes those are the natural default feelings that sales folks have of us when they get frustrated. I mean, whenever things go wrong, there's a natural human tendency to be like, oh, his fault. And that's just, a way the way of it. And there's really not a whole lot, to do except to take a formulaic approach. And then, I'm guilty of the same thing. We're guilty of the same thing. Is that, from our perspective, sales isn't doing anything. I mean, we put together all these leads. They sit in the queue in Salesforce, and nobody follows up, and then people get frustrated. They don't understand the product. How can you sell? How can you be in front of customers if you don't know what this product does? How do you not know that? No feedback on all these things. I spent tons of hours putting together this data sheet, this solution sheet, and nobody reads it. Nobody says anything. Hello. And then, all that sales is caring about is closing deals, and they could care less about the struggles that us as marketers have. And I'm sure that everybody in this room has heard these kind of pushback points before. And for a long time, I felt like there was nothing that couldn't be done. But I would say the truth is that there's a lot of goals that both teams have in common. Both teams are kind of in the soup together, right? I mean, we both want to close business. Nobody wants to see the company do bad. They know that happens. It could bring layoffs, brings unhappy feelings, grouchiness. I mean, who wants that? Everybody wants to see the company do well. That's why they're there. Also, both teams are under a lot of pressure. I mean, we're all in a position of being looked at very closely by our senior management, scrutinized for the kind of material that we're creating, the kind of deals we're closing. We get a lot of eyes looking at our performance. Also have specific targets to hit, very specific numbers and KPIs. I mean, when I meet with my manager, we have 5 minutes, maybe less, of small talk. How was your weekend? And then it's, Greg, let's look at the dashboard. How you doing on a certain amount of responses from your collateral? How's sales engagement going on? How's your product lines? How well are they performing? How's the website hit? So on and so forth. So we all have goals to hit. We all need effective messaging to help get us there. And we also, live or die by how well the messaging resonates. So what I've come up with is 6 key steps to help the process get better. I cannot say that, tomorrow you're going to go in and follow all these and that everything's going to be great. This is a long-term exercise that takes time to really get in and really appreciate. Step 1, collaborate early and often. So one of the things that I do is I almost over-communicate with my sales folks. Every Monday they have, at Jitterbit, they have a all-sales call. Marketing is invited. They give us about 5 minutes per call before we start going deal to deal. And I tell them, this is what my roadmap is. This is what the marketing roadmap is. This is what we're creating. And I give them a real window into what's coming for the next couple of months. And I get them to engage and ask questions. And I've discovered, frankly, that most of the folks on the call are probably not going to engage deeply, but there's going to be 1 or 2 that are going to be really interested and really engaged on a specific line, probably because they're going to be selling that product and specializing in that product. So those are the folks that I know. Those are the instant folks that I know to go out and just go into very specific detail about what the plans are and really engage them, and just to blueprint the process so that everybody understands exactly what's coming. Get them to weigh in, handle any objections right from the beginning. And it's not only on the roadmap process, but also if I'm creating a solution sheet or a pitch deck or what have you, I'm bringing them in several times during the process to ask them their feedback, and that really helps. Key step number 2, passion. I think if there's one word that is critical for product marketing, it's passion. If you have a passion for the product, everybody else in the room can pick up on that and gets really engaged and can really tell that you really understand and really love what you're doing. And I think that is very appreciated on the sales side too. Because if they can tell that you're in it and you're engaged in it and you stand behind it and you are going to fight for that product, then they will too. And they will respect you for your passion and come to you and say, hey, Greg really cares about this product. And I do too. And I have questions and I want to work with him. I want to show the passion that I have and show equal to him. And that's very, very helpful for the relationship. Key step number 3 is understanding the sales cycle. So from company to company that I've been in, sales cycle is so much different. I'm sure that there's 20 different variations out there. And if you can understand that sales cycle and show that you can help at various stages of the cycle, I think that you'll really earn the respect of the sales folks you're working with. Because they're under the same pressure. They're under the same pressure to really maximize how they're reaching out to customers with that sales cycle. And so if you can enable them at certain points to be successful and with certain items at certain points, I think you're going to really earn their respect. Key point number 4 is to make it easy. So I mean this in a couple of different ways. So first of all, not every salesperson in the organization is going to be a product expert. There's going to be new folks who are coming in, who are learning the product, people who've been there for a while who are still a little shady on the details. And then there's going to be folks that have been there for a while who may really know the product, but still are discovering that there's things that they don't know. So when you talk to people, when you talk to sales, you cannot assume anything. You have to start at a somewhat basic level so that everybody has a good grounding of what the product does and how the positioning works, and then work up. Because frankly, I find if there's folks that want a little bit more detailed answer, they'll speak up and they'll say, well, tell me about nuance A, B, and C, and then it's at that point where you can start to answer and engage. When I say easy, I also mean accessibility of information. One of the areas that I think I see the most is, Greg, where can I find this data sheet? Where in our intranet can I find the template for this kind of deal? Make it easy for them and drive them to where your material is located, and just provide links. Make it just easy as possible, and I think that you'll really earn the respect that they need. One of the things that I am careful not to do is I never do it for them. Like, then I often get like, oh, can you send me datasheet XYZ? I never send it to them. I tell them where to find it, and then that usually negates the river of can you send me's that keep coming along. So make it easy for them. Make it easy for you. Don't overdo. Don't underdo. Step 5 is to manage expectations. This is one of my favorites. I think as product marketers, we get asked to do a lot. We get asked, from product. We get asked from sales. Can you create this data sheet for me? Can you provide this competitive information on this speaker, on this company? Can you help me, close this deal? I need some specific knowledge. We have a lot on our plate. We're busy, and I want to help as much as I can, but we cannot do everything. And so don't be afraid to say no. You don't need to be, nasty about it, but you can just say, just in a polite way, look, this is what I'm working on. I would love to help you. I can't right now. And just be very clear and honest, because the moment you start yesing everything is the moment where people start going off the hook later on, where oh, why didn't you do this for me? You have to be honest with yourself about what you can and cannot do. Finally, key point number 6 is have fun. Now, I know that you may think, well, maybe this is kind of like a filler thing because he ran out at point number 5. But the truth is, that this is really, really important, because it's really important to show that you're not taking everything too serious, and that you're relaxed, and that you're in control of what you're working on. And it also is kind of fun to, have a little personality and have a little quirk. Like in the picture I have shown here, that's me with my head superimposed on a parachute jumper, and that's our VP of sales down below. And the whole point was we're in this together, we're in the drop zone together, we're parachuting together, we're in this together. And I did that at a sales conference, and people laughed. And on a lot of our Zooms, I sometimes tell a little dry and a little, maybe not the best joke in the world, but I try and be a little funny. And it's helpful because it helps me stand out from the crowd. It helps relax people, and people are much more willing to engage with you if the relationship is not so tense all the time. If people can just let loose and have a good time with you, and I would just say, one thing I've learned from doing this for 10 plus years is there's a lot of chaos. Everywhere you go, there's always going to be chaos. And when it's on marketing, sales can tell. When you're stressed, sales can tell, and then they kind of back off and are afraid to approach you. So just try and relax, and try and remember that everybody's got the same challenges. We've all got the same goals, and just to breathe easy and figure it out one step at a time. I have not yet learned how to do that, but that's some good advice. And that's it. Do you have questions?
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. Give Greg a round. I love to have fun, kind of keep everything in perspective thing, right? Yeah, I was infamous at Amazon with my team. I would tell everyone that when we'd get tense, nothing matters. At the end of the day, nothing really matters. Some people are what do you mean? I think it's helpful for me to remember nothing really matters. But I guess it's the same thing. All right, so let's jump to questions. What tools and tech are you using to manage sales collateral?
So this is one area where we're in a bit of a process of trying to get a little better. Right now we have an internal site that we use to manage all our materials, and I'm the first to admit could be better. It's a little hodgepodgey, but the workaround that I have for it is that I've created a grid that we send out in our update emails that lists all the links that go directly to the collateral. So I haven't quite figured that out yet. We as a company haven't quite figured out that, but right now we're working around.
At least you're reinforcing and pushing people to the same place over and over again.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like there's been more and more tools that are coming out for sales enablement, tracking, and all that. Interesting to see kind of how those go. I personally have minimal experience with them, but
yeah.
All right. Do you think it's easier to have a positive relationship with sales when you're a male product marketer?
No.
Interesting.
I think it's equal, frankly. It takes a lot of work. I've worked with male product marketing managers. I've worked with female product marketing managers, and to me, there's really been no difference in. That sales looks at us with the same skepticism, no matter male or female.
All right. So, when giving updates on release timelines, sales much prefers hearing this, doesn't question it coming up. Hearing this / doesn't question it coming from a product manager. How can I manage this?
When giving updates on release timelines, sales much prefers hearing.
Okay, I get it. So, yeah, basically, if it's coming from PMs, they're okay with it. Mm-hmm. But how do you manage it as a product marketer? Because that is a more difficult conversation probably to have.
I think my strategy is always honesty is always the best policy. And just being upfront and saying this is when we're expecting these things to be ready. Just being clear that this is going to take some time and that it's a work in progress, and just being honest.
Yeah. Someone yesterday was talking about that. It was like transparency, being proactive. Like it's okay to be late on things. Just it's not okay to not let them know until it's actually happening.
Yep.
So just be proactive, constantly keep people updated, consistent. I think that makes sense. Do you recommend sharing goals and KPIs with sales, or do you do that today? I guess to start.
I do. I absolutely do. It's very helpful again for everybody to know what we're working on and what we're trying to obtain and how we're measured. Especially when sales looks at that, there's often a lot of commonalities. Like sales is tasked with so many closed deals for perhaps a new product, and I am tasked with so many pieces of collateral or so many hits from a piece of collateral. So having them understand that we have the same sort of challenges and related goals, I think is very helpful.
Yeah, agreed. All right, what should you not do when working with sales? What should you avoid?
Trying to have too many chefs in the kitchen. That's what I recommend. There's no way that you are going to please every sales individual. Won't happen. I've tried, didn't work. I think the best strategy is to pick the folks that you trust, that are passionate about the product, and engage with them. And there may be bluster or feedback, but it's impossible to keep everybody happy.
Our team doesn't input SC sales close. What am I the only one blanking on what the sales close? Sales collateral.
Yeah.
Sales collateral. All right. So I'm going to spell it out then. Our sales team doesn't input sales collateral into Salesforce until after the deal is won. How can we encourage them to use it earlier in the? I think it is sales cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree with this one. Salesforce, it's only as good as the data being put in. Sales teams constantly need to be in there updating it. How do you reinforce that?
Yeah, I think just keep hammering it home as part of the discussion. And just, again, honesty is always the best policy, and just say to them, I don't understand how things are going. It's hard for me to create this piece of collateral or do this for you when I don't have a vision of what's going on. I also have found that mentioning this in big sales meetings doesn't work. You have to, everybody takes it away, it's in one ear, out the other. So you have to go to the individual folks that you're working with and say, look, Alan, can you please go in and just update this? And chances are, if it's one-on-one, if they know they're talking to them specifically, they will.
Is Alan real?
Alan is real. He's my buddy, my buddy.
I was wondering. All right, sales has great product feedback from prospects, but often lacks deeper insights on why. Any advice on how to push back and get better feedback?
Great product feedback from prospects, but deeper insights.
Maybe it's not so great. Maybe they just are getting feedback.
Yeah.
You want it to be great feedback.
Yeah. So maybe a little polite coaching and asking the right questions, I think. Tell them that you're working on a very specific angle of messaging, and that you need more information. We're really zooming into a very distinct kind of customer. I really need insights on this customer that you met with that fits all these criteria. Can you go down and just push and push politely, but push and push.
Yeah, keep pushing. All right, last question. You mentioned you're tracking collateral, clicks, and performance. Is sales held accountable for actually sharing these out?
Not for tracking clicks and performance. I am measured for clicks and performance. I don't rely on sales folks to make that happen, frankly. I mean, we're measured by how it performs on our website, engagement, and there's also a qualitative part, frankly, where we get feedback from sales saying, "Oh, Greg, good job on this or that," and those kind of comments shape how we're judged because the sales folks are on the front lines.
Yeah, qualitative is important for sure.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's all the time we have. Thank you so much, Greg.
All right, thank you.